Back at again with another YouTube video. It's your boy Uriah G. Today we're gonna react to 10 best WWE matches of 2001. Let's get right into the video. Well, we have an ad to start off.
2001, WWE were riding the highest they'd ever been. WrestleMania X7 was a runaway success, and both of their main competitors, WCW and ECW, had collapsed, only for the Federation to swoop in and acquire them for peanuts. However, the second half of the year turned out to be a very different story. One word for you: alliance. Need I say more? One thing that stayed consistent across the course of the 12 months was the quality of the matches put out by the new wrestling monopoly, and we've got a selection of the finest 01 vintage for you right here. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best WWE matches of 2001. Join us. Number 10, Team WWF versus Team Alliance at Survivor Series. Hot take incoming: the invasion angle wasn't that good. Whoa, somebody call the fire brigade. In all
Definitely wasn't around for this.
seriousness, the WCW-ECW takeover of the Fed is widely considered to be the biggest missed opportunity in wrestling history, and for good reason. So, Sod's Law dictates that the storyline would provide an absolutely killer match on its very final night. At Survivor Series 2001, two teams went to war in a traditional elimination match to end the conflict once and for all. Team WWF, The Rock, Big Show, Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, and Kane versus Team Alliance, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Booker T, Rob Van Dam, and Shane McMahon. Winner takes all. Considering the star power involved, it's no great shock to learn that the action here was scintillating. The plot of the match was twistier than a pretzel playing Twister, as there were two separate betrayals in the final stretch, which eventually culminated with The Rock pinning Austin to give WWF the big win. The final outcome may have been obvious,
The Rock getting a pin over Stone Cold.
and it might have come off the back of months of frustrating booking, but this was still a bloody brilliant Survivor Series match. Number 9, TLC 3 on SmackDown. There were two tables, ladders, and chairs matches in 2001, one very famous one that we'll talk about in a bit, and then this one from the May 24th episode of SmackDown. Defending world champions Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho faced their toughest challenge when they were thrown into the ring.
We just had a SmackDown TLC tag team match, I think, a week or two ago. Street Profits won.
With the three teams that innovated this match type: the Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian Lees. As with most early TLC affairs, this was a train wreck, except that the trains were made of fire and nitroglycerin. The 6 TLC veterans worked their usual magic, with many tricks involving ladders flying directly into people's faces. The Chris's held their own too, including an insane diving headbutt from Benoit through a table on the outside. This mad spot, which Benoit missed by the way, took him out of the match, leaving Y2J to fend for himself. All of this was building to Benoit's grand return in the final act, limping down
Oh, Benoit came back. Wow.
onto the ring to fend off the other teams and pull down the belts, retaining the gold in heroic fashion. Pure madness in the best possible way. Number 8, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle at SummerSlam. When Steve Austin turned on his company to join the Alliance for reasons, the promotion needed a new top babyface, with Olympic hero Kurt Angle stepping in for Stone Cold. This led to a world title match between the two at SummerSlam that drew on the pair's shared history of sucking up to Vince McMahon. Probably should have been a tiny cowboy hat and a pole match, but this'll have to do. Even without the iconic headgear, this was still a fantastic encounter. Austin and Angle had a great intensity about them, trading slams in the ring, knocking each other silly outside of it, and exchanging finishes like there was no tomorrow. Angle took no less than 3 stunners in this match and still wasn't pinned. Way to kill the business, kid. What keeps this excellent match from being any higher on our countdown is its
I think they had another match. Kurt Angle fought. Was it The Rock or was it Stone Cold? It was somebody. No, it was Chris Jericho. Because I'm thinking about Rebellion. And I think it was like Rebellion 90 something or 2000, early 2000.
finish. Frustrated that he couldn't put his opponent away, Austin went mad, taking out referees, hitting low blows, and using the belt as a weapon, which finally forced a DQ. Still, just because there's a bad finish doesn't mean you can't enjoy the ride. Number 7, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H versus Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit on Raw. Most of the time, injuries ruin wrestling matches, but on very, very rare occasions, they can actually make them better. On the May 21st episode of Raw, just one day before TLC 3 was taped, Jericho and Benoit squared off against Steve Austin and Triple H for the World Tag Team titles. This was the two-man power trip at their most powerful, and the Canadian Chris's had been feuding with each other just a few months earlier. Surely they didn't stand a chance. Wait, this is wrestling. Of course they did. What this match is most famous for is Triple H tearing his quad.
Oh man, this was the time where he tore his, was it the quad or the ACL?
Reset by running across the ring. Rather than look after himself like a normal person.
Oh, he said tricep, I think.
Hunter just carried on wrestling, including taking a Walter
Because he came back, I think, in 03 or 02. It was either one of them.
Jericho on the announce table, which is simultaneously really dumb and really cool. Even without the game's leg going AWOL, this was still something special. The crowd were red hot for Benoit and Jericho to dethrone the villainous champs, and they were rewarded for their support with plenty of drama, which culminated in Jericho pinning Austin to land his crew the gold. Number 6, Shane McMahon versus Mr. McMahon at WrestleMania X7. Sometimes wrestling is about two larger-than-life athletes testing their abilities in a true sporting contest. Sometimes, though, it's about a real-life father and son smacking the snot out of each other because the dad put his wife in an induced coma. The path to Vince versus Shane at WrestleMania X7 is one of the most soap opera things WWE have ever done. This telenovela on steroids resulted in an intergenerational street fight, and it was all the stupid nonsense you could hope for from a match involving two mad millionaires. With a supporting cast including Stephanie McMahon, Trish Stratus, and Mick Foley, Vince and Shane
Did I sit down and watch this match?
knocked each other stupid as the crowd ate up every second of the melodrama, and then it's happened. Linda McMahon, who had been drugged by her nefarious husband and left in a catatonic state, rose from her chair for the first time in months and kicked Vince right in the grapefruits to genuinely one of the biggest pops in wrestling history. This helped Shane win the day and restore honor to his family name. Screw you, Steamboat versus Flair. Up yours, Okada Omega. This is my kind of wrestling. Number 5, Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho at Royal Rumble. If you want your kid to grow up to be a great wrestler, here is a top tip. Move to Canada and then name them Chris. Before they were the best of friends, Benoit and Jericho were fierce enemies.
Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit have been in this list at least 2 or 3 times already.
Who had spent a large portion of the year 2000 feuding over the Intercontinental title. At the 2001 Royal Rumble,
So they must have been the top 2 wrestlers of 2001.
they met once again for the workhorse
Well, I don't know about top, but they were in plenty of matches.
belt, which had been suspended above the ring in a ladder match. Like any good finale, this held nothing back. One of the first major moments of the match was Benoit hitting a suicide dive to the outside, only for Jericho to block him by swinging a chair directly into his face.
Man, one thing about Chris Benoit, he takes a lot of risks in these matches.
Uncomfortable viewing in retrospect, you might say. And the high spots just kept on coming. There were chair shots, big plummets from ladders, and that iconic shot of Y2J locking in the walls of Jericho on Benoit on the top of the ladder. Frame it and hang it in the Louvre. Jericho eventually got the win by shoving his opponent off a ladder to the ground, kicking off a very well-earned reign with the IC Gold. Number 4, the Royal Rumble match at Royal Rumble. The debate over what is the greatest Royal Rumble of all time is one of wrestling's most ferocious. Many lives have been lost in the Great Rumble Wars, with the 2001 edition of the match often drawing legions of soldiers to its cause. The thing about the 2001 Rumble is you can drop into it at pretty much any point and see something cool happening. Big Show and Haku making their WWE returns, Kane clobbering the Honky Tonk Man with a guitar, Drew Carey giving a Hall of Fame-worthy performance. You name it, this match has got it, and so much more. Stone Cold might have won the match, becoming the first and thus far only 3-time Rumble winner in history, but without
And now we got Cody Rhodes, he's like 2-time.
performances of men like The Rock, The Undertaker, and especially the Big Red Machine, there is no way this match would be as special as it is. If you've got an hour spare and you're looking for a wrestling match that tells a great story, has plenty of hardcore action, is stuffed with great comedic moments, and has a finish that sets up one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, then the 2001 Royal Rumble is the answer to your prayers. Number 3, Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon at King of the Ring. That's right, Shane McMahon was involved in 3 of the best WWE matches in a single calendar year. Best in the world doesn't sound so silly now, does it? While the showdown with his own father at WrestleMania was violent, his King of the Ring street fight with Kurt Angle, who had already wrestled 2
Another wrestler that takes risk, Shane McMahon.
tournament matches earlier in the evening was on another level entirely. They started out with some clean technical wrestling, no prizes for guessing who got the better of those exchanges, before the match descended into a frenzied brawl and the weapons came out to play. There were some spectacular bumps on display, including Shane busting.
Wait, was this the match where he took that spot, that bump where he went through the glass?
Out a shooting star press onto a trash can.
I think so, because by the thumbnail.
But the match really took a turn when Angle introduced Shane McMahon to some glass that helped make up the show's set. The sight of Kurt suplexing and then just throwing a bloodied Shane through the glass is one of the most extreme things ever seen on a WWE production, and helped make this one feel wholly unique from other street fights and hardcore matches. With both men suffering from various genuine injuries, they just about got back into the ring for the spectacular finish. It was thrilling to watch, but oh boy was I glad it was over. Just kidding, I'm a sicko. Number 2, the Dudley Boys versus Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys at WrestleMania X7.
Iconic, yeah, it's like one of the most iconic spots.
7 months on from their first TLC match, and a year after the Triangle Ladder match that was TLC in all but name.
Wait, no, is this exact one?
Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardys all...
Yeah, I think, this is it.
All met up once again to chuck each other through tables and knock each other's brains out with chairs. Why can't you boys just have normal hobbies like stamp collecting or fishing? With Bubba and Devon's World Tag Team Championships at stake, this sadistic sextet somehow found a higher level of violence from their previous 2 tussles. This is one of those matches where I could just sit here and go through all the spots, but that would be boring, and we would also be here until next Tuesday. To give a short summary, everybody basically tried to kill everybody else. Even the team's various helpers, Spike, Lita, and Rhino, which is not a balanced selection, got absolutely annihilated before ENC ended the madness by plucking the belts from the sky and becoming champs once again. The Spotfest to end all Spotfests, TLC 2 is the best example of this particular format, and unless something really spectacular comes along, it probably always will be.
Probably one of the greatest ladder tag matches of all time.
Number 1, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
They always put on good matches. That's like one of the best rivalries. One of the best matches, rivalries.
WrestleMania X7. As much as I'd love to just play the My Way video package for this entry, Fred Durst already hates me after the incident, so let's just chat about Rock Austin 2 instead. Actually, that's going to be tricky too, because what do you say about one of the most famous wrestling matches of all time? The biggest match on the biggest card in WWE history? The battle that was simultaneously the high point of the Attitude Era?
And every single time they wrestle, The Rock does that sell where, Stone Cold gives The Rock the stunner, and then boom, he sells it.
And the beginning of its end? Well, you could say all of that, I suppose. Rock and Austin, who were both so popular they could have run for president in 2001, gave their all to this match, making good on the Great One's promise to leave every drop of sweat and blood in the ring in order to retain the world title. You can debate whether or not Austin needed to...
Alright, that was 10 best WWE matches of 2001. Subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you guys want to see next in the comments down below. I got more videos coming, stay tuned. And yeah, Uriah out.